Alright, so we're gonna load fodder today. What do we got here? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 20, 22. I only need 10 bales out from under there. Yeah, we're just moving fodder. Oh. These are light though. These are light. He can pull whatever he wants out of there. It don't matter. Oh, I'm hobbling around like an old man. So if anybody wonders about these tarps, if you watch Trevor bales hay, he hates tarps, right? For what he's doing, because there's always spoilage, always waste with his business, because he's in the good hay business. And the problem with the good hay business is, well, not the problem with it. The problem with the good hay business is you always have to have a certain quality, okay? And if you ain't got that quality, you don't have a business. I'm sure Trevor's smarter than me, because he didn't fall off of a snowmobile in Arizona. Nah, I did, and got hurt like a dumb teenager, you know? But that's just me. Dummy. Ah, what a dummy. I can call myself a dummy, and that's okay. I don't like it when other people call me dummy, even though I'm a dummy when it comes to that stuff. You know, I think I'm a lot like my mother's father. And I'll never forget when I was a kid, back in the 80s, my grandfather, oh, he was in his, I have to say he was definitely in his 70s, might have been 70 years old, and he bought a Polaris 250E four-wheeler. Probably a few of them still around, a pretty reliable motorcycle, quad, four-wheeler. We called them four-wheelers back then, and you know, now they call them quads. It's a fancier name, and I can't get this stinking string to release. Come on, you miserable bitch. God. You know, it would be okay if I wasn't hurt. You dummy. But anyway, as a kid, my grandfather, he bought this thing. Excuse me. It's always a fun story when you're with me, right? I don't think I need to unhook anything more than that. It hurts. Anyways, he was in his 70s when he bought this thing, and he was crippled. I mean, that man had bad knees. His heart was no good. I think he had quadruple bypass surgery when I was young. He was 1976 or 77. He had quadruple bypass surgery, and he outlived what he was supposed to. The longevity of that, because he died in 1992. It's been a few years ago, and I believe he was 77 years old at that point. So, but anyway, when he would hobble over to this thing, like I'm walking right now, and get on it, and he was 16 again. He'd drift that sucker right around, up the barn, up out of the house driveway, up the road, into the barn driveway sideways, do a donut, whatever the hell he was doing, and then park it, get off, and then hobble into the barn to milk cows. That's what he did. So I'm not hobbling in any way before this stupid incident, which I think I just tore up some muscles. I don't think I lost any ligatures there. But anyway, that's how I feel. I get on those things and I'm 15 again, and I just drive like a fucking idiot. Excuse the French, whether it was French or not. Well, you don't have to excuse it. I don't really care. But anyway, so Dad's gonna load this thing up with fodder. I think he's got more than enough. That tarp is gonna have to get taken completely off, I'd say, by next week. I just loosened it up so he can get out from underneath it. I should probably just fasten the ones I just took off there. No, I'm good. I'm good, because I got that. It's gonna flop down here, and then when this snow melts off, because we are entering March, will be here pretty soon. I think it's February 23rd, I think. Something like February. Anyway, whatever. Here's what it is. Man, I just noticed my hat caught that fingernail. Just twisted that sucker right up. Anyhow, oh, earlier today there was eagles. There's buzzards down there. I don't know what the hell's dead down there. But them buzzards are fighting over some kind of guts. I didn't kill anything. But yeah, winter wonderland. Okay, so now you're gonna watch me do some metal work here. I had all kinds of troubles with this thing. This lathe is over 100 years old. It was my ex-wife's great-grandfather's lathe, and I highly doubt that he bought it new. It was just something he had. It's a Carroll tool and die maker's lathe, 9-inch. And yeah, so because it's so old and well used, there's some slop to it. You know, slop in the carrier for the bit and everything. And this metal that I'm using is harder than, it's cold rolled steel, so it's a little harder than your average hot rolled steel. And I just screwed it up. I screwed it up, and it's my fault that I screwed it up, but it is what it is. And it was kind of annoying to me that I did this. But anyway, what I'm doing is I'm actually building the pin that goes into the Krone Big Baler. I bought a, what the heck is that thing? A Haugen magnetic drill and a 1 7/8 annular cutter, and I bored the hole at the top of the baler. And I bored the plate. If you saw that plate, that green plate, I bored that plate with it. And in all honesty, the magnetic drill was just plain awesome. It did its job the way it was supposed to. And yeah, you can see there was the plate. So anyway, what I'm doing is I'm just taking a tiny little bit off at a time. As you can see, it's a tiny little bit off at a time. And I'll use a file every once in a while to get the burrs off of it. You'll see that. And when I thought I was close, I used the file. Like right now, I'm using the file quite a bit. I was pretty close. I have a caliper there that I was using, and it's not a dial caliper or anything, but it's a caliper that I was using, and it was close. So I figured I'd just run that file over it, get all the burrs off, and son of a bitch, it just wouldn't work. So I cut it again, and I cut it again, and I cut it again, and I used the caliper each time, and for some stupid reason, all of a sudden, it just took way more than what it was supposed to take off. Now, every time I use this lathe, there's some machinist or somebody that thinks they know this machine, and they're like, oh, you did that wrong. You did that wrong. You did that wrong. Well, you know what? I have no formal training on this thing. All I know is it goes around and around and around, and I got to cut bits of metal off of it to make it the right size. Now, this is where my nephew came in, and you can see on the return that for some stupid reason it started cutting on the return. So I know there is a slight wiggle in that lathe. But anyways, whatever. It is what it is, and I have to get this thing right. When I got done last night, the last pass, it was too tight, it was too tight, it was too tight, and then on the last pass, it just took, it took probably a 128th too much off. And I've got a dial caliper here at the house, and I'm probably going to take that over and, yeah, make sure that I get it to the right size. Because you know what? Sometimes I just feel retarded. And I'm going to touch now on, you're going to get to watch my wonderful face, but I'm going to touch now on the metric system and why I hate it. I don't hate it because it's numbered 1 through 10. You know, I don't hate that aspect of it. They're increments of 10, which makes it really, really quite easy. You know, increments of 10. Thank you, wife. Increments of 10 is quite easy to understand. Even the 8.8, the 10.9, or 10 point whatever, the hardness or the tensile strength. What did he do?
Drink the water. That's my plant habit for 5 days now.
Oh my God. Anyway, the troubles of having a child. They're not troubles. It's just fun. Anyway, where was I at? Oh, with metric. The thing that really pisses me off about metric is that there's no... With standard, and this is another thing, why is it so difficult for people that have been trained on metric to understand SAE or, the American standard inch system or the English imperial inch system? There shouldn't be any issue with that. It's quite simple, to be honest with you. And they use it in metric as well, because when you go to the thread sizes, and this is what really pisses me off about the metric system, you have to have a little tool. I imagine when you get good at it, you'll know. I mean, if you use it all the time, you'll know what thread size it is. But it could be 1.25, which is 1 1/4 threads per millimeter, I think, or 1.50 or 1.75, which is a fractional system or an imperial system, 2.0. I have seen 3 different thread sizes for one size bolt. So say I've got an M18. An M18, 10.9, there is as many as 4 different thread sizes that you can. Whereas in the English or the imperial system, there's only 2. You have national coarse and national fine. That works. You look at it, you're like, oh, that's fine thread. You go over to your bin, you get a standard fine thread, or you go and you get a coarse thread. You can't cross thread these damn things. With the metric ones, you'll go up and it's a 1.25 or a 1.50, and they look very, very similar. You can tell the difference between a 1.25 and a 1.75. But a 1.50 and a 1.75, they're very similar. You really literally have to go get your little tool, like, what size is this? And then stick it on there. Now, when you go to, like, if we go to Fastenal is the bolt facility that we go to that's local. Anytime I go in there with a metric, they always pull out the little tool. And they're like, oh, yeah, this. Okay, this is what it is. And they'll try 2 or 3 different times. It depends, on what size bolt it is. But if it's a standard, like, oh, it's a 3/8 coarse thread. They don't even bother going for the tool. It's like, oh, no, that's easy enough. And for anybody that thinks that I'm too stupid to understand that the standard has lines for the hardness or the tensile strength, and the metric has numbers, I understand that. I do know that. And the other thing is that you can look at a bolt, and it's say a 14 millimeter. So more common sizes are 13 and 15. So you have to literally grab 3 wrenches to figure out which size it actually is. And I can tell you, I waste so much time running back to that effing toolbox to pick up a different wrench because, oh, that's 13 millimeter, and son of a bitch, it's 14, or it's 12. That stuff just drives me crazy. So when I look at a 3/8, it's like, oh, it's a 3/8. It's going to take a 5/8 inch wrench, or whatever. No, it's a 9/16. So it's a 3/8. It takes a 9/16 inch wrench. If it's a 7/16, that's the weird one for the U.S. Or for the imperial system. It's 5/8 on one end and 11/16 on the other. And but that because I know that because I work with it all the time. Unless it's fine thread, then it's 5/8 on both sides. Yeah, it's weird. But very rarely do we deal with fine threads in 3/8 or 7/16 inch bolts. But, so it's just a lot more difficult to decipher what they are. And I have many, many times stripped metric nuts off of bolts. And for some reason, they never seem to stay tight. And like when I get this chrome baler, every single bolt that's on that damn thing either has a locking nut or some form of a Loctite on the bolt that you're putting through a weldment or threaded hole. And that's just a fact. Or it has some kind of rippled washer. If you forget the rippled washer, or that Loctite or any of this other stuff that you got to put on there, guess what, ladies and gentlemen? That son of a bitch is going to loosen up on you. And for some reason, the standard stuff doesn't. And that's just my hatred towards the metric system. It's a simple system. It's okay. I think they should skip sizes, for like bolts. They should be like even numbers for even numbers. Like, okay, so we're going to go with 6, 8, 10, 12. Those should all be, the wrench sizes, So a 6mm bolt, it goes to a 13, 14mm, just keep the evens. And then, you can't even coincide with the thread numbers then, because there's as many as 4 different thread sizes for metric bolts. And that's what drives me crazy. I just absolutely hate metric. I hate it because of that, just because of that reason. It's, and maybe you guys that are in the rest of the world are so used to this fucked up system that you like it. I like 2 choices. Coarse, fine. What do we need? Coarse, kind of coarse, maybe fine, it is fine, and then ultra fine. And that's what it is with these things. And it's like, okay, so I've got a M12 1.25 bolt, and then I have to have, instead of 2 bins with coarse or fine, 2 lines, I actually have to have 3 or 4 different bins with the same size bolts with different size threads in it. Insane. Anyway, whatever. I'm done ranting about this stuff. Oh, and I'm a know-it-all too, so that's it. I know better than anybody else on the internet. That's what all these white hairs are from. This is like the knowledge tree right here. You see the knowledge tree? It works so well that I know everything. That's for you, ladies and gentlemen. Have a nice day. Oh, if you didn't like this, don't comment, rate, or subscribe. But if you did like it, hit the subscribe button, just because I'm going to be a dick today and tell you that it is your opportunity and your responsibility as a person that lives on this planet to comment, rate, and subscribe to this channel. If you don't do it, I can't do anything about it.